It shows a couple people pending. I think there's maybe a couple accounts going on. So I'll continue adding people as we go. Go ahead and get started here. Jake, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself there, and we'll be ready for you when we get there. Just guys that weren't in here last night, here at DBAT Bothell, we're trying to find ways to continue to develop the game of baseball, softball here in our community. We've had a long to-do list of things here in the facility as far as maintenance and upkeep, and having basically the doors open for 2 years. It's kind of a time to reevaluate what we're doing, whether it's good or bad, and kind of regroup on some aspects. And this is something I wanted to kind of incorporate with kind of what we have to offer to our community here. Tonight with Jake Lamb's going to get pretty good, but before we get there, I want to kind of touch on a couple topics. Like I already said, make sure you keep those microphones on mute. We want to kind of make sure everybody can hear everything. There is the chat room function there. Definitely use that chat room if you have any questions. If they're relevant while we're talking and I see those, we'll kind of jump into them right away. Try to save most of those questions for the back end of this. As far as the Diamond Club, what we're trying to do here, I kind of touched on it already as far as trying to give something back to our community here on the baseball and the softball side. We had a great topic last night with hitting with Donegal Fergus with the Twins. Tonight we got Jake Lamb, an infielder with the Arizona Diamondbacks. We got about 12 other people lined up over the course of the next month. Different topics, different on the baseball, the softball side, hitting, pitching, catching, mentality work, whatever it may be. So kind of a wide range of viewers. With that being said, we got the youth age, the high school age, the college age, players and coaches. So kind of keep that in mind with your questions. Kind of a wide scale of viewers here, which is awesome. The last piece, kind of my piece is, obviously during this time, these uncertain times, the social distancing, which hopefully we're all following, and it's definitely needed at this point. But with that being said, is socially distancing shouldn't necessarily be the case. For me, it's more physical distancing. We need to be finding times to learn, to gain knowledge on the field, off the field, in the classroom, whatever it may be. But just making sure we're staying connected with everybody, whether it be things like this, and baseball side and school side, strength conditioning piece, whatever it may be. So it's making sure we're still staying active on that side. Relationships are pretty key. As far as Jake Lamb here tonight, you can see him somewhere in that video there. He's got his live stream going. Jake, how you doing tonight?
What's up, guys? Good. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Where you at today?
I'm in my house in Arizona. Yeah.
Not 52 and raining down there, I'm assuming?
Nah, that's why I didn't make a comment about the weather. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. We get those often, obviously. So it's always nice not to get kicked while we're down. But we're having some good weather up here, as you probably know, with your family up here.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, we'll kind of get started right off the bat. We'll kind of jump around a little bit. My first question for you is, how you been handling these times? It's, we'll kind of get into it probably more detailed as we go, but, being a contract year and everything with that, then obviously the, coronavirus coming into effect and kind of halting that spring training very quickly. And then kind of everything else after that. How are you handling that? Obviously on the physical side, but also on the mental side. What are you doing to kind of stay engaged with that and then ready to rock as soon as you get the okay?
Yeah, I mean, the first week or so when we got canceled, I mean, it's just talking to guys every day, whether it's text, phone call, FaceTime, and I can't believe this is going on. Like it's never happened before. And so after that first initial week of, all right, what do I do? This feels like the off season, but it isn't the off season, because in the off season for me, you're ready to take your time off. This obviously was right in the middle of spring training. I was swinging the bat really well, and then this happens. And so it's completely out of my control. And obviously everyone else's control. But yeah, I mean, right now I stole, but I got some stuff from Chase Field as far as workout equipment, and I can do enough stuff in my backyard to stay in shape. I feel like I go on a bike ride at least once a day, sometimes twice. But I love just being outside in general. So I got a little puppy now, so I'm running around in the backyard with him. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Like I said, I feel like a little kid just going outside on my bike, cruising around, listening to music, whatever. And just staying outside for the most part.
Absolutely. I would imagine there's a kind of a sense of, obviously you get to that off season, 162 game season over whatever it may be, 6 to 7, maybe even 8 months by the time you start counting in that spring training work and some of that optional stuff. That break's obviously needed, but I imagine you're getting an itch to get back on that diamond very soon.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's, it starts at a young age. You make the commitment, the time commitment of baseball, and we get on these clocks, all right, this month I'm supposed to be playing baseball. And, during the winter, I'm going back to Seattle, I'm not playing baseball. And so like now I'm in that mode of, I need to be playing baseball right now. I need to be in the box facing, whoever it is, Walker Buehler for the Dodgers. I got that itch we all do. And that's not just Major League Baseball players. That's everyone who loves the game. And, that's kind of what everyone's going through right now as far as on the baseball end is, we're ready to play. We don't really care what it takes. We just want to get out on the field.
Sounds like some competition. Maybe.
Yes. The things I'm competing at right now are, shooting games in the backyard, basketball by myself. So, I mean, that's what I got going.
Undefeated on the court. That's always a good thing.
Yes, for sure.
Are you doing any sort of like Zoom calls with staff or coaches or any sort of like mental stuff as far as maybe breaking down some video of some pitchers or some teams you see often, whether it be in division, or is there anything kind of field wise that you are doing to kind of really prep and make sure you're ready to rock?
Well, so as far as Zoom calls, we go on a Zoom call every Monday with the offensive, the position players, our hitting coach, staff. And this past week, we started really talking about kind of, getting back into that baseball field and talking about, what's it like hitting with runners in scoring position? What's our mindset? What's our mindset leading off, going into our first at bat of a game? Things like that. So we're starting to put ourselves in that baseball mind, because you can go hit, you can work out, but you're not necessarily talking about those, those things you talk about in the dugout or at practice, those in-game situations. So that's actually been a lot of fun. The whole offense is on, and obviously just like this, and we go through and just guys bring up points about this Monday was specifically, your first at bat of a game, and then, hitting with runners in scoring position. And, we talked about that for a while. So it's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's crazy how it kind of morphs into this tech world that we're all deep into now. It's kind of crazy, if not concerning, to think about maybe what the backside of this brings as far as the businesses and discussions and how often we maybe have doing some of these meetings. But at the end of the day, I think as we know, networking and relationships is vital. And this is a great avenue to kind of keep those going.
For sure.
And move on to the next topic a little bit, as far as, being a local boy here, as far as local being a Seattle kid. Local, is it Blanchette down there in Seattle?
Yes, it is. Yep, Bishop Blanchette.
Guy, if I remember correctly. Probably from there. I don't remember exactly who you played summer ball with. I remember running into you a few times down at Rips Brewers, hitting with Ellison, seeing your brother, guy. Talk a little bit about being a Seattle kid here, going to the University of Washington, obviously having success there, and ultimately getting onto that next level of pro ball. But touch a little bit as far as your kind of relationships with Washington, if you want to touch into maybe that Omaha team with your brother was a freshman on that team. Maybe touch a little bit as far as what that means to you and kind of the, hopefully how proud you were to be a Husky, even though you are a Seattle.
I'm getting chills right now just talking about it, man. I mean, born and raised in Seattle on Queen Anne Hill. As far as UW was in my backyard. I grew up going to, the basketball games, the football games. I haven't told a whole lot of people this, but I don't think I went to a baseball game, but it was bigger than baseball. It was, I want to have, that W on my hat. I want to have that Washington across the chest. I wanted to be a Husky. I didn't really know about if the baseball team was good or not, but I didn't really care. I was really shy in high school. And so I wanted to be close to home. I wasn't ready to leave Seattle. And, I was a little afraid to leave home. But the thing that, bigger than that was just the fact that I loved the University of Washington and was born and raised a Husky. But yeah, I mean, you bring up my brother, in that Omaha team. I mean, on your notes, it said the Omaha video.
I think we've all seen the video in some regards. If not, recommend Google.
I rarely do that as far as, talk about things like that on video, whatnot. But I watch that frequently. It's a reminder of how, first off, that's love for my brother. That's a guy who, he came up to me at a young age and he was like, I want to pitch because I don't want to, I'm kind of tired of being in your spotlight. I want to do my own thing. And he told me that, I want to say a junior in high school. And that was absolutely incredible to me. It was for a kid to admit that to his older brother, was really cool. And I don't see a whole lot of high school kids with that type of mindset. And it wasn't as far as like I'm running from it. It's like, no, I want to do my own thing and I'm going to be really good at it. And, we were talking to you, I was talking to you earlier just about, the opportunity that he had this current season. He was doing well, but I told him when he went to UW, I said, the worst thing that's going to happen, the absolute worst thing is you don't play and you make some awesome friends. That's, you get in shape, you get your butt kicked a little bit. But that's the worst thing. And he decided to play baseball there. And obviously they made a, Omaha run, beating Cal State Fullerton. I mean, and then the fact that, I feel like, me, myself, and the other guys that were there at Washington with me, we were kind of a part of slowly, that Coach Meggs, that first team that Coach Meggs had. I feel like we were, that base layer that nobody talks about, but it's kind of like you have to start the culture at some point. And I feel like we slowly, very slowly, but we got that ball rolling. And obviously Coach Meggs did a great job building that facility up and eventually going to, the College World Series.
Yeah, it was a pretty memorable year on that regards. I also think back to, when you said you hadn't been to a game there, maybe prior to going there, is facility wise, it's a huge night and day difference from, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you go further.
Exactly. Yeah.
Things have changed so much. It's night and day on that regards, which obviously helps in recruiting and every other aspect. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. And obviously, your sister Megan as well, I got to get, maybe the most important aspect of, college athletics and basically the baseball and softball and some of the smaller budget programs at the camp scene. Megan dominated camp scenes multiple summers in a row. She is loved for the lunch purpose. Obviously, you get 200 junior doggers out on a baseball field. That lunch duty is pretty important. So make sure you give Megan my best regards. And
let me just say something real quick. And I don't like to brag a whole lot, but my freshman summer, after my freshman year, I didn't play summer ball. I stayed and worked Gatorade at UW camp. So I was the original camper, or I was filling up the Gatorades for all the camps, football. I was getting a lot of leftover football food, some of that barbecue, because baseball just had Jimmy John's and the barbecue was a lot better. But yeah, so I was the original, the original lunch guy.
That's like a family trait we got going on now. I like
Yeah.
Well, back on topic a little bit here as far as, kind of the baseball piece. I want to talk a little bit about, obviously your development path. You've started as a youth in high school and club ball and college ball and professional side. If you just want to kind of get into maybe the development path that you kind of touched into, you obviously successful out of high school, 2009 and turn around again in 2012 after Washington getting drafted. So obviously there's some success there. What are things you were doing as far as the development piece, making sure you're ready, as going into your high school season, your college season, or, we also see some of these faces here, these, 10, 11, 12-year-old kids too. Anything on the developmental piece, whether it be the daily routine of hitting or the daily throwing stuff, but something along that side is just as far as, you had success. What were you doing to make sure that success was coming along with that developmental path?
I got to be honest, man. I want to sit here and say I knew exactly what I was doing, but I didn't. in the best way possible that I wanted to learn from whoever. And that's still the case now. I mean, people that really know me, you could be a college guy. I remember going to when Graffinino was playing shortstop.
Yeah.
And for the Huskies, I remember watching him take infield, and I'm like, God, this is special. And I remember just watching him, and I watched a few of his pre-pitch setups, and I was like, you know what, I don't do that well. I need to get better at that. And I feel like I've always had that. I feel like I've always had the ability to learn from whoever. I'm not afraid to ask questions. I was at a young age, but once I really get in that baseball zone, and that started at, in that high school age, I loved asking questions, and that was my biggest thing. But the one thing I did want to say, as far as my high school years, especially with social media now, man, and people think you need to be all everything at age 12. You want to have the followers, you want to have all the the Instagram notification and all that. But I played JV as a freshman in high school. I was probably $145, 145 pounds. I mean, I was tiny. I was a good player, but as far as you saw me as a freshman in high school, you probably wouldn't have said that guy's going to be a major league all-star.
Yeah.
As a sophomore, I think I hit 220. So, I mean, and I was I was still small. I was a second baseman. I mean, so my point being is I just kept playing. And then I eventually started working out my junior year of high school, started working out really hard. And through working out, I started to get this really competitive edge. And just the idea of, because I was so small, when I started to really put on muscle, I felt like anything was possible, honestly. I mean, I was that small, and I was embarrassed to go into the high school weight room because I could barely get the bar off my chest. And that's not an exaggeration. My high school coach, George Monica, I love the guy. He called me olive oil next to Popeye. So that shows how small I was. But through lifting weights, I got this obsession with, failing and then succeeding, because when you start lifting weights, you're getting crushed, and then you keep working at it, and you finally get over that hump. And I kind of just took that to baseball training. It was, hey, I'm going to hit off the tee until I hit, 50 balls back net, or, I don't do a whole lot of tee anymore, but it's still, flips. And it's just that competitive edge, and you're going to get better as long as you keep working at it.
Yeah, it's good. I appreciate that answer. I talk a little bit more about maybe, obviously we've all heard the minor league grind in some regards, whether it be the pay or the travel or the facilities, whatever the case may be. We've all heard kind of the nightmare stories. I was lucky enough to play a short stint with the Brewers and got to experience that a little bit, but I know you jumped around quite a bit more than me, being a 2012 draft pick out of Washington, and then, your debut with Arizona in 2014, pretty small window there for your minor league experience, which is obviously a great thing. You want to talk a little bit as far as kind of maybe a story you have, or a minor league manager, or maybe a minor league team you got associated with where you guys had a bunch of success, some sort of minor league story that you may have?
Yeah, I definitely have a couple. I think I will say this, two quick things. I was fortunate enough to be, a 6th round pick. And so when you're a 6th round pick, you're going to get all the opportunities, or you're going to get an opportunity. It's pretty much guaranteed. And I got my opportunity, and I did well with it. And so that's the first thing. And the second thing was I played on good teams in the minor leagues. So winning helps everything. It's a lot more fun when you're winning rather than, grinding through a minor league season. But I loved talking about, kind of my whole 2014 season. I was in Mobile, Alabama, and like I mentioned, I'm a Seattle kid, born and raised. Never thought in a million years I'd be in Mobile, Alabama. We have a really good team. 23 years old. Never been in the South before. And so it's just a culture shock. And my first at bat, we're playing Mississippi Braves, and Mike Minor is with the Braves at the time, and he's doing a rehab stint. And the first at bat, I go deep to left. I hit a home run. And I'm thinking, all I've heard is, the Southern League's the hardest league. If you can play there, you can play in the big leagues. And I remember thinking like, oh, I got this. I hit another double. Both pitches were, outside, outer half. I went to left center. The rest of the month, people started pitching me in. And I think I went 1 for my next 30-something. And first month I was hitting about 100, and Andy Green was my manager, and he brought me into the office, and he pretty much just said, hey, put your head down and just get to work. Just enjoy the work, enjoy your teammates. We got a really good group. Just have fun. You're pressing, you're thinking too much. Just have fun with your teammates, and just work every day. Because it's never a question about my work ethic, but he was just like, hey man, have more fun playing. And but I remember he said, put your head down and just have fun. Don't worry about the numbers. And sure enough, I went off and all-star. I was the MVP of the league, batting title, and got called up to the big leagues. I actually went up to AAA for 4 games and did really well in AAA. And we have an off day. I'm at the team hotel in Reno, and I'm taking a nap. And Andy Green, my AA manager, is calling me. And I'm like, dude, he's probably talking about AAA, or he wants to give me a pump-up talk, so I'm ignoring it. And Phil Nevin texted me, pick up your phone. He was my AAA manager. And so I pick up the phone, I go out in the hallway, and Andy Green was like, hey, remember when I said, put your head down? And I was like, yeah, I'm doing that. Do you not see my AAA numbers? I made some, smart aleck joke to him. And he said, well, you can look up now because you're going to the big leagues. And I remember I was crying like a baby. I was in a hotel hallway, and they were smoking allowed in the hotel. And so these 2 guys are smoking cigarettes down at the other end, looking at me. You got a 23-year-old guy just crying. But I like telling that story just because I did exactly what he said. I started enjoying the game more. I started enjoying the day-to-day of just showing up to the yard early, talking trash, just having fun. Batting practice, having fun in the outfield, shagging. I mean, just doing the things that we forget to do. We fall so, mechanics or your approach at the plate. It's like, this is a game at the end of the day, and sometimes we just forget to have fun. As simple as that.
Totally. Well, that was very well answered. My question off of that, and I didn't really have this scripted, I guess, what was a better moment? Was it getting that phone call? Was it telling your parents, your family? Was it maybe the actual moment itself in Kansas City? Or what? I mean, what, if you don't mind us giving kind of your mindset, what hit you the hardest?
I probably talking to my dad, man.
Yeah.
And it's going to get to me now, but my dad, he never said no. Anytime I asked him to play catch ever, he always said yes. And I mean, it's that simple. He was just always there for me. And, my mom was too. I was lucky to, have both. My parents are still married. I realized how lucky I am for that. But, my dad, simple as that, he just gave me his time. That's it. And, calling him and hearing him kind of break down, and I've never seen or heard my dad cry up until that point, and it was cool. It was really cool.
Yeah, I can imagine that's probably a special moment for you, but maybe even higher for your dad.
I can't imagine the whole just being a parent in general, but like being a parent and like watching your kid go through whatever it is they do. But you're climbing that. For me, it was professional baseball ladder, and I try to tell them to relax, but God, if I'm ever in that situation, you can't relax. You're watching, your kid play.
Totally. All right. Well, moving forward here, obviously we touched a little bit about the 27 All-Star experience there. Probably once again, an unbelievable moment for you and your family, but my kind of quick question off of that is was there a player or a coach or maybe someone within that experience that really kind of maybe reached out to you? You know, we always hear the, Derek Jeter or, showed me the slider grip, whatever it may be. Is there somebody in that 2017 All-Star game that kind of maybe reached out to you, or maybe you started the conversation, but it kind of, touched you?
Yes and no. I mean, it was, I felt like I should have, been in the All-Star game in 2016. So as far as thinking, like I thought I was one of the best, and I still think I'm one of the best players in the league as far as, an all-star caliber player. But I mean, you can believe all you want, but when you're in the batting cage, and I purposely went to the cage, like once I got all my stuff on, I went to the cage and you got Joey Votto, Arenado, Bryce Harper, you got Paul Goldschmidt, obviously my teammate, Buster Posey. It's a who's who. And like I said, from an early age, I love to learn from anybody. But then when you got these guys in the room, I mean, shut your mouth and just watch. Yeah. And I mean, I had some questions for a couple of guys, but it was just watching, man. And I had Ricky Weeks, played with him in 2016, and he told me, if you make the team, you never know. You never know if you're going to make another one. So absolutely enjoy it. And I remember thinking that when I made it in 17, I invited 16 or so friends out. I flew them out, to stay at the hotel, my parents, family, all that. And it was more of just the whole experience. I soaked it in. I missed a first pitch heater from Kimbrel in my one at bat. I got walked, but that's really my only regret was being late for that heater. Yeah. But other than that, I mean, for me, it wasn't even about the game. It was the fact of, dude, when I say I've been through so much, like everyone, you have your ups and downs, whether it's baseball or, outside of baseball, but you've gone through a lot. And the fact that I can 100% say that I never thought I would be a Major League Baseball player, let alone a Major League All-Star. So yeah, it was just a cool moment. Once again, having my parents there, having my brothers there, having my sister there, and then, all my buddies from back home, a lot of Blanchette buddies, some UW guys. It was awesome, man. It was the coolest thing.
I bet. This kind of gets back to like the sponge aspect, right? Just kind of take it in, absorb it, process it later, kind of chuck and go as you go. And probably a pretty cool experience to stand at cage and see some of those hitters.
For sure, man. For sure.
In that regards. As far as more your kind of preparation, as far as your playing side of things, what does your off season and in-season kind of look like? Obviously the off season is probably a little bit more about the rest, but also you're obviously putting in a lot of work. And I would assume the in-season piece is probably a little bit more preparation-based, obviously maintaining some things. But if you want to maybe touch a little bit as far as like your off-season work and your in-season maintenance and preparation as far as kind of what you're going through, it'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, as far as off-season, this was kind of my first healthy off-season out here in Arizona. And it's probably been one of my best, if not my best off season of my career. But yeah, I mean, all through the minor leagues and up until this year, I would, go back to Seattle. I would lift out of Riley Athletics with Ryan Riley. It's my guy. Him and Kevin Landry. And we would have a little minor league group, but we would work out, and it's a really competitive atmosphere there. And that's one thing I love, like I said, once I really got into the love of working out, it's that trash talk. It's like, just like baseball, you're with your buddies and you're just pushing each other. And then we would, me and Alex Berg, and a few other guys would go hit. And, yeah, we kind of had our little circle there. And, but as far, yeah, I mean, it would be working out early in the off season. And then when you start hitting, you start taking it slow, just trying to get the rhythm back. If there's any off-season tweaks I want to make, you're obviously working on that. A lot of film. Made tweaks this off-season that I'm really proud and pumped about whenever we start playing baseball again. But Yeah, I mean, it's you get to a certain point and it feels like you're just back in the season as far as you're waking up and you're ready to hit the cage and take ground balls and do all that. And as far as the season goes, the season's more of day-to-day preparation. It's more of watching film, obviously maintaining your diet. It's more maintenance with the body. You're still working out, but you don't need to get any bigger. It's just maintaining that strength that you have. Maintaining mobility through the hips, shoulders, all that. But yeah, it's more of a day-to-day, who's pitching, let's watch some film, all that type of stuff.
Yeah. Good. As far as today, April 22nd, 2020, you should have had a game a couple hours ago in Atlanta. What?
I probably raked.
You probably raked 3 for 3. Double.
Yeah.
What does a game day look like? Obviously, on the road is going to be different than at home, but give us kind of whatever one you want to, maybe go into. What kind of that pregame day routine for you, whether it be the fundamental side of, your tee cage before you go into the batting practice group, before you go to first pitch, or if it's more of the, you have a really strict routine with your diet and kind of what you like to eat pre and post game.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's I get it from my dad. I'm king of routine. I like to wake up and hopefully there's a breakfast spot or just a coffee shop walking distance, because I just like to wake up and just move around. So I'd probably go get some breakfast and watch some highlights, watch some baseball stuff, but really just kind of chill. I would go with some teammates, get back, hang out, go to the field. And then go to the field, you eat your lunch, and then right after lunch, that's when I go to the film room. I'm going to be watching. Now it all depends too. I mean, if it's the first day of a series, I'm watching all the relievers. I'm watching all the relievers. I could get in depth about all that, but it's mainly, you watch the relievers, then you watch the starter for that day. For me, I like to. Obviously I look at percentages because we're spoiled. We have every single number out there and a clip of it. And so I'm looking at numbers, I'm looking at percentages, I'm looking at, what guys like to do ahead in the count. What do they like to get back into the count with? What's their put away pitch? And then I'll watch maybe 1 to 2 starts, and I'll kind of sit back like this. And I want like a soft focus of I just want to watch him pitch. I want to watch the way he maneuvers. I'm not even looking at, the velos and the pitches necessarily. I'm just looking at the zone, and I'm looking at if I can see any patterns with, okay, he doubles up in and then he goes soft away, just whatever it is. He throws that changeup and then he likes to come up and in with that heater to get you off, goes back to the changeup. And then I'll watch, this is my favorite part, I'll watch the pitcher getting just absolutely raked. And so I put on hard hits, extra base hits, and it's just the pitcher getting shelled. Swing after every swing is a double or a home run. And that just gets you back, because you do all this studying, but you can't leave, you can't leave the room thinking, oh man, this guy's got good stuff. As a hitter, it's about having that edge. And I like leaving the room being like, man, this guy's struggling right now. This guy just got raked. He might be pitching well in the past 2 starts, but what I just saw, I got a year of clips of all the doubles and home runs and, extra base hits that this guy's given up. So that's usually what I end on.
It makes sense. My last couple of years at Washington, Coach Berg, who's on yesterday with us, doing the same thing with you, as you. He didn't touch on it, but that's something we did there at Washington too. Those last couple of years is obviously with Synergy now and these other platforms is you have the ability to kind of really pick and choose what you want to see or not see. Typically, a lot of times those video rooms, you're seeing a lot of negative style stuff, really good sliders, high velo, command, bad results. And, a lot of times the last session, we had the opposite, like you were saying. So it's kind of cool to feel that going on. So that feel good session before you kind of go compete, which ultimately is what it's all about. But
for sure.
Awesome. Well, as far as, you're living in Arizona now, being away from baseball, I want you to step away from the game right now if you can for a moment. Kind of give us an in-depth look, though. What do you enjoy doing outside of baseball? Whether it's when you're in Arizona or back here in Seattle, or maybe even in season on the road type stuff. What are you looking to do out there, Jake?
Yeah, just like being outside. I'm a really low key, normal dude. I like being outside in Arizona. I got a couple scooters. We go around the neighborhood, cruise around the neighborhood. Like I said, I got a puppy recently, and so just playing with him in the backyard. But yeah, I'm pretty easygoing. I like to be outside. The thing I miss the most, and I haven't done it in years, is snowboarding. Though I always grew up like a skateboard, snowboard guy, and so getting back on the mountain bike, been biking a bunch as of late, has been a bunch of fun. But yeah, just be outside, doing whatever, hanging out.
Sounds like a kind of a standard Northwest answer for us guys up here. I think a lot of us would agree. We like.
Oh yeah. I mean, back home, I love those rare winter sunny days. I like just walking around. I mean, because it's the smell of the crisp sunny day is something special. But yeah, I don't need a whole lot, man. I'm an easy guy.
We had a pretty big off season, obviously, with the dog, it sounds like, but the fiance as well.
Yeah, got engaged. Yeah.
We'll try to keep you on the podcast here a little bit longer, so maybe dinner will be ready. Well, two more questions on my side. The first one being kind of, whether it be your in-season or off-season, when you step into a cage or a batting cage with a tee, do you have kind of a tee routine you run through? Is it more front toss based? Do you like live arm, machine? Kind of tell the viewer here as far as what you like to do when you step into a cage. Obviously, we're not always blessed, especially here in the Northwest, to jump onto a live field and have that going for us. So a lot of we do in season and also out of season is in a cage. So is there some sort of routine you do? Is it starting at a tee every day, or does it kind of progress, or kind of walk us through that routine that you are doing?
Yeah. So right now I'm able to hit in the cage, and I don't usually like tee a whole lot. If I do a round of tee, it's really just to warm up the body, just a little bit more. But yeah, my first round, I like doing a drill. I got just a normal dodgeball, a yellow dodgeball, and I put it under my front elbow, and I want to feel this elbow going up rather than pulling across. And so the goal of that is, my hands are here and the ball drops, and that just means my elbow's in a good position to go up rather than cross.
Yeah.
And just for the record, I'm never thinking swing up. I'm not even about to get into that type of stuff, but it's just one of those external cue exercises that I get the result I want as long as, this ball isn't being pulled across my body, as long as it's dropping straight down. And then I do a kind of a feet together, and I call it a go drill. Worked a lot with Cody Atkinson this offseason, another Northwest guy. But yeah, feet together, and the whole idea is when he's coming forward with his arm, I'm going forward to him. There's no negative movement, so it kind of takes all that negative movement out, and you're just going forward to the baseball when his arm's coming forward. And then from there, I like to get a round of just straight, and each round like 10-ish swings ish. If I'm feeling good, let's do 7. It's not an exact number for me. It's kind of based off feel. But then I don't like doing a whole lot of underhand flips. So after those 2 drills, I do a quick round of regular underhand, and then I'll get into whatever, just depending on what I want to work. Angles, I like doing angle flips and angle overhand. I like doing, if you have machines, high and low. I'm a guy who struggles with the pitch up. So getting that velo machine at the top of the zone, I mean, it gives you – the velo machine, I feel like, gives you all the result. It's your personal coach. If you can't square up that velo machine, it's tough, especially me, a guy with some movement in my swing. It's tough, but it's essentially having a coach there. Hey, you got to clean up. Your path you're getting long, or you're spinning off, or you're just late, whatever it is. But I love the velo machine. So yeah, it's kind of, I'm not hitting machine right now, but that's kind of my day right now.
Yeah, good. How many swings, if you had to guesstimate a swing, a number, roughly how many swings you're putting in a day, a couple hundred, less than that, more than that?
As of right now, per day, I'm probably putting in 70, 75.
Yeah, the super quality.
Yeah, it's like I said, we're in a unique time. It's down to a science in spring training, because they count our swings for the medical staff. They count our swings during season and in spring training. So I kind of know my number, but right now it's that, you want to get after it, you want to swing a lot, but at the same time, we're not really sure when we're going to start. I think if you ask anybody in my position, we're all just waiting for an exact day that we start, and then our schedules and our brains will kind of line up from there. You know what I mean? Especially pitchers. I mean, pitchers are the real guys that are struggling from this. It's just kind of difficult because we're just in that floating period of not really sure what's going to happen.
Yeah, a lot of uncertainty right now.
Yeah, well, for sure.
Looks like we got a couple good questions in the chat here. If anybody else has any questions, feel free to chime in on those. I'll get a couple of them going right now. Looks like Nathan, is there any exercises you're doing body weight wise, dumbbell wise, or anything that you'd recommend? I'll kind of start that off it goes without being said, obviously the push-ups, the sit-ups, the pull-ups. Nowadays, the burpees are pretty popular. The jumping jacks maybe. Is there anything besides the kind of the standardized body weight style stuff that you are doing, or maybe recommend to?
So are you asking because I was able to steal enough weights from our facility that I'm lifting weights. But I've also seen you don't need a whole lot. I'm using my backyard. I got a couple stairs. I'm doing, I put a vest on and just do slow forward lunges. Or you can turn around and do a rear foot elevated lunge. But I'm getting a full workout in. So, as far as, body weight exercises, I would say the stuff I like doing the most is, you got the purple resistant bands, and you kind of tie 2 or 3 of those. I tie 3 of them together to my basketball hoop, and just doing, agility side to side with some resistance. Then you go back, and then you go forward. It brings you back, and then you go, you backpedal and do all that type of stuff. I enjoy that type of stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of the stuff I should be doing more of, probably. Yeah, I would say
to avoid sprinting. I can't stand running, but that's I was just doing that today, and it's like I still hate this.
Yeah,
I'll never get on a Zoom call and say I enjoy running.
I'll hold you to that.
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about I think it was your freshman year. You said you were a JV player.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it was your sophomore year you made that varsity squad. Was it your sophomore, junior year? Kind of what helped you prepare for your varsity squad there year at high school? Obviously, we're going back a couple years now for you, but what's something to kind of give advice to that kid that's maybe currently on C team or JV and really wants to take that next step and make an impact on his varsity club?
Yeah, I kind of touched on it, and I just want to reiterate that you don't need, because I remember as a freshman, and I don't know if I ever told him this, but we had a guy named Cameron Cutter, and he made varsity as a freshman. And Cam's one of my friends, and I remember I wasn't jealous of him, but I remember just being like, man, he is so good. Like everything he does, he has a strong arm, and this guy was, he was a man child at that age as a freshman, and my body type wasn't there, but I remember kind of comparing myself to him, like, okay, he's bigger than me, he's stronger than me, he's faster than me, and I just want to say to the kids on here is like, you can't do that. I still do it at times. So, and that's human nature, but everyone grows differently. And I remember, like I said, I started working out my junior year with a buddy out in Magnolia. We started working out 5 days a week, and it just taught me a lot. But then my junior year, I was like 6'1", 210 pounds, and I was strong. And that's kind of when I started kind of get on the map as far as, college coaches reaching out and stuff like that. I just want to repeat, is you don't need to make that varsity your freshman year, or even your sophomore year. As long as you're still truly having fun playing and you're working and you're getting better. That's all you need to do, because it then goes to the college level. At the college level, I always tell people I was lucky because I played every game besides the Long Beach State game that I missed the bus at UW, and I had to sit in the stands. Other than that, I played every game. And in baseball, it's so unique. You have to play to get better. You can't be outside shooting hoops like in basketball and get your shot, dialed in. I mean, in baseball, you can't just hit off a tee and make it to the big leagues. You gotta face actual competition. And so I would say at the college level, if you go to maybe you don't go to the LSUs or the Pac-12 schools, maybe you go to a JC or a D2, but if you're playing every single day, that's all that matters. And I can't stress that enough. And I feel like that's where the social media comes in. I feel like that's where people start to, oh, so-and-so got this offer. I don't have that offer. I'm not as good as him. Screw that. It doesn't matter. And I know there's always going to be the outside pressure of your friends, your family. That doesn't matter. And I promise you that. But you have to continue to enjoy the game and be obsessed with the game. You have to continue to work hard, and not be afraid to learn.
Yeah, it sounds like kind of back to being a sponge, absorbing it all is a little bit, as Coach Meggs would always say, trusting the process. And
we've all heard. It's hard to do, man, and I'm guilty of it. Going through these last 2 years of my career, injury and just playing the worst I've ever played. It's tough to trust the process, but as far as the mental space I'm in right now, how I feel physically, and where my swing's at, I've never felt better in my career. And so, I can just speak from it. It's like it was really tough, and I wasn't perfect, and I struggled on and off the field, but it is trusting that process, and that has to start at a young age. And the more you can trust that process, I think the better you'll be.
Awesome. All right, I got a couple other good questions chiming in here. It looks like as far as your mindset, we talked a little bit yesterday with, the mindset side with Ferg, but if you want to jump in your mindset a little bit as far as what you're thinking maybe when you're in the box, and, obviously not a lot. I would imagine, the competition and the adrenaline at that point is going to really kind of drive you and take over. But is there any sort of maybe mental thought process you have as you approach the box, or you're in the box, or maybe it's more of a debrief mentally as your at-bat's over even?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you do so much film study, on let's say the starter, and especially if I have history with the guy, I know what I want to hit, and I know, I want to hit the heater, and I know if he makes mistakes on certain pitches, slider, changeup, I know where it has to start. So I'm not even thinking about that stuff. That's in the back of my mind. I've already seen it. I've already lived it. And so I'm just reacting. But to react is I'm thinking, 60 to 70% effort level. I'm breathing, and I'm just trying to stay. I'm doing this because, especially with my shoulder injury in the past, I got sprints, and you gotta breathe. You gotta stay loose. And when you can stay loose and just react, and truly just react, that's when we're all the best, our best version of ourselves. You get in this when you're slumping, or when you're going through struggles and you start to get tense, you tighten up, you're never going to be the best hitter you can be. Not just best hitter, just best player. So for me, I'm thinking 60% to 70% effort level, knowing that the 80-90% will come out due to adrenaline. But if I'm up there thinking swing out of my shoes, I'm probably going to miss that pitch. So for me personally, it's just staying loose, relaxed. And I guess the one cue is just kind of I'm locking in on that release point. Release point's huge.
And you're obviously, with that video breakdown beforehand, you've already kind of scoped out where that release point is, whether it's that
yeah,
or starter.
For sure.
That's great. A couple other questions here. We'll get this kind of wrapped up here. Looks like Ethan maybe potentially switching to a new team. Is there anything mindset-wise? Is you're maybe joining? Obviously, you're not joining a new team, but somebody that's in the youth side, high school side, summer ball side, joining a new club. Is there any tips of advice you'd have on maybe helping yourself join that club right away in a good fashion?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I can only speak on how I am as a person, but I feel like I don't like change, and my dad and mom can tell you that. I was on played with the Seattle Stars, and then I moved to Chaffee. And I remember, the initial move to Chaffee, I don't like meeting new people because, like I said, I'm shy, I'm quiet. But the advantage of that is I don't say anything. I go to practice. I hear everyone else talk, and you kind of you learn. All right, I like the way this guy talks about the game. I like what he's saying. And so I would always, kind of keep my mouth shut and listen to everybody else. And that's really, the real advice I would have is, just be open to change, and you never know what's going to happen. It might be the best move for you. And that's all I would say.
I guess I'd put it in perspective for you, Ethan, as far as, hopefully it's a lot of things you're currently doing as far as being a good teammate. You're respecting coaches, you're listening to the team, to the umpires, to everything, respecting the fields. Kind of all that stuff kind of for me falls under being a good teammate, and hopefully that stuff we're all doing currently, whether it's a new or an old team. So we got Coach Doyle on here, head coach at O'Dea High School. Looks like his son and daughter up there in the camera. I do happen to see in between their good faces there.
I see it.
I hate to bring that subject up, as I know it's touchy for you and a lot of people in our community up here. But if you want to touch a little bit, his question, I guess I'll backtrack, is what kind of dog do you have? And then the second piece, kind of noticing that memorial right there, right behind their heads, brings up some moments for me, and I'm sure it does for you as well.
Well, you say it brings up bad memories. Are you talking about O'Dea baseball, or are you talking about and then winning a state championship in 2009? No, so Hugo is my dog's name. Hugo is a yellow lab. Nice. Josh Dickerson did a lot for me. He was one of those guys, because, I sit here in front of you, adults and kids, and I'm not afraid to, we're all human, man. And I remember going through the college process. I was putting pressure on myself, and, I wasn't the best. I was yelling at my dad and stuff because I was scared. I worked so hard at this baseball thing. I didn't know if it was going to work out. And really meeting Josh and seeing how he lived his life and seeing the situation he was in, and then looking at my life and my health and what I was complaining about, he was up here and mine didn't even make the scale. I was complaining about not performing good enough to be, a top 2-round draft pick in college. If that's my biggest issue, I'm living a great life. I'm just fine. And I think it's always about putting, things into perspective. And I still do it. I still find myself complaining about the dumbest things. But seeing Josh and just how much he absolutely loved the game, how, he would come over. Him and my sister were really good friends. And so he would be at the house and we would talk baseball, and just his energy, his positive energy. It's something that, I got JD2 on every single glove that I own for that reason. If I boot a ball, if I have a bad inning, if I have a bad season, the amount of times last year I'd have to look down at that glove, or, my bracelet, or I got it on my arm sleeve, because we do get in those points, through competition of, you're stressed out, you're ticked off, and Josh is he's one of those reasons why I'm always able to get out of it. And yeah, he showed me a lot. He showed me how to have fun and really put life into perspective for me. And I still keep in touch. Q and Dee Dee, his parents, they come over for Christmas Eve dinner every year. So yeah, they get their baseball fix for sure.
Yeah, when I was with the Seattle Stars those last couple of years, as I was with Washington as well. Obviously, the Josh Dickerson Memorial Tournament every summer, kind of run by the Stars, and I never got to meet Josh. Every story I've ever heard has been unbelievable, on the field, off the field. I have got to know his parents a little bit.
Yeah,
outstanding people. So I could only imagine. So thank you for touching in on that subject. That was obviously off the script a little bit. And
no, I mean, it's all part of, not to sound corny, but it's all part of the journey, man. If I had never met Josh, who knows? I still, would get pissed off about random stuff that really doesn't matter in the whole grand scheme of things. And he truly does on a day-to-day basis. He is a reminder to me of how precious life is, and how you should love your loved ones. From your puppies to your parents to your, my fiance. You need to enjoy life, and that's what I saw out of Josh. He truly enjoyed his time on this earth.
That's awesome. Well, looks like we got one or two more questions. Mike's looking at kind of knowing what's the toughest major league pitcher you faced, or maybe even that you got a hit off of.
Yeah, I mean, so that's two different questions, but because everyone wants to hear, the big names, and there's guys that absolutely dominate me. And then one of the guys I see the best in the league is probably Max Scherzer, as far as I have really good success off him. And I'm not going to lie, a few of those times I knew it was, I was sitting on what was coming. And but then there's some of those at-bats against Scherzer where I'm like, why did I even swing at that? A back foot slider, first pitch, and I hit it for a home run. And I'm like, what? Baseball is a weird game in that sense. But yeah, I think of Tyson Ross. I think of Brad Hand. Tyson Ross, I started my career. He was starting in pitching in San Diego. I think I started my career 0 for 10 with 10 strikeouts. And after one of the games, I got a text from my older brother. He said, "Hey, congrats on the record." And I was like, what happened? I got a walk and I struck out 3 times. He goes, starting a career 0 for 10 with 10 strikeouts.
Yeah, that's
so yeah, you can always rely on the family to keep you humble.
Absolutely. What about, obviously this game is a game of failure. It's not designed to do well, whether you're really
Yeah.
the hitting side, obviously on the defensive side, maybe a little bit different. But how do you find yourself still having fun? I think we've maybe answered it in a couple different ways, but how do you find yourself having fun in this tough game that we play?
I mean, that's a great question. I just truly love competition. And then I love baseball just as much, if not more than competition. So, I mean, it's that obsession. I feel like I have a pretty balanced obsession, but I mean, it's a strong obsession for baseball and especially hitting. And I love talking about it. I love watching it. I love it's been cool during this time. MLB Network's playing all these old games, and watching that 95 game, Mariners Yankees, but actually watching it now as a Major League Baseball player and watching these sequences is cool to me. And to play at this level, you got to play, really to play this game beyond, the high school stage, you have to have that obsession and that desire to get better. And just that love for competition. So, I mean, for me, it's easy to have fun. I mean, I can say it too. This past year, for me personally, was extremely hard, but I had fun every day. I mean, I don't have fun getting out. I don't have fun walking back to the dugout after a strikeout, but, you know, I stay with that, having fun with my teammates, talking trash to each other, having little games in the cage that we play, or, you know, out in batting practice. So yeah, I mean, and like I said, this is kind of the, you know, the Josh Dickerson in me, but I'm playing Major League Baseball. I never thought I would play Major League Baseball. I mean, this is what isn't fun about this, you know? And you know, it's overused a bit, but it's a kid's game, and you know, we get to be kids for, you know, 6 hours out of the day, and so, you know, more than that.
Kind of like, I think for me, it kind of falls back to, you know, trusting the process, you know, and then the next level after that is, you know, fall in love with the process. You know, if you want to have fun in this tough game, is you got to love it. You got to want to be about it.
Yeah.
You know, cage in, cage out, you know, pitch by pitch, whatever it may be, is you truly do have to fall in love with the process, especially when you start talking about the duration of a baseball season.
For sure.
It's much different than a lot.
But I feel, yeah, and I don't know where everyone's from on here. I assume it's a lot of, if not all, Northwest people. But that's the best thing about growing up in Seattle. I mean, the amount of times we were rained out, from Little League to high school to college. I mean, and I couldn't stand being rained out in Little League. You know, Little League in those first few years, I mean, and it still sucks. But, you know, in the big leagues, it's a little different. You know, your body's aching, and if you got a random rain out in Cleveland, then you'll take it, you know, just to give the body a rest. But, yeah, it's, you know, in Seattle, you know, you get that appreciation for the sun, for being able to get outside on the field and play. So anytime that was taken away due to, you know, some rain, I was always pretty upset.
Nice. Looks like we got an Alex Berg in here. Bergie shooting a question.
Oh.
What Seattle meal do you miss? I would imagine Berg has an answer already in his head here for you, but what kind of meal do I need to go get after this is done tonight?
Shoot, there's so many. What I miss right now is some BB's teriyaki out by UW. I love BB's. My buddy runs BB's, Mikey Savage, but love BB's. Let's see what else. Red Mill Burger, Taco Time, and then probably Elliott Bay Subs on Queen Anne Hill. I love to eat, man. I could talk forever about hitting and food.
All right, so I have one personal question on my side left. Looks like we got one more question in the chat here.
Sure.
Prepping for a tryout, you know, and the question was for a high school tryout. I'm going to kind of open that up, you know, prepping for any sort of a tryout, whether it be a little league tryout, a high school tryout, a showcase select style team tryout, or maybe some of these guys eventually, you know, an independent league or, you know, a free agent style tryout. Is there any sort of, you know, tips and advice, or obviously the mindset stuff, trusting the preparation, controlling what you can control? Some of that stuff obviously jumps into mind, but anything in particular on kind of the going through a tryout process?
You know what? This might, once again, I just want to be able to relate with everybody, but I was never good at the tryout stuff. My last, you know, tryout was I did a workout for the Diamondbacks with one other guy, because, you know, the original workout that I was supposed to fly out for, I was sick and whatnot, but it was just me and another guy. And the second pitch of that workout, I broke my wood bat. And from then on, it wasn't the best tryout, because now I'm nervous. I just broke my bat off batting practice. And, you know, that was, I remember I put so much on that tryout, you know what I mean? And I put too much pressure on myself, rather than, because it is a little intimidating when they have all the guns up and it's quiet. So I never really did great in that setting. My advice, however, would be the same. It would be, you know, go in, you're going with friends or, people, just try to make it, if you're nervous, like I was for those things, like the area code stuff, I mean, I was nervous for that, yeah, go with friends or people that and try to take your mind off of, your nerves. Try to distract yourself and once again, just have fun. Realize that it's just the game, and the worst thing that can happen is you miss a couple ground balls and you don't hit any home runs. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, just go out. What's the worst that's going to happen? And like I said about, being loose, that's when we get nervous, we tighten up. And so, yeah, I mean, in those situations, they're not always comfortable. But yeah, try to be as loose as possible and just have fun. Just play baseball.
Nice. Well, hey, I appreciate everything tonight, Jake.
Yeah.
We went a little longer than planned, so I do appreciate you.
I enjoy talking, man. I love it.
My last question, we kind of wrapped up with it yesterday as well, is, with the technology nowadays, obviously Google at our fingertips and the Twitter and every other avenue and podcast. Is there anything specifically that maybe you're reading or recommend reading or listening to on the podcast style, specific book or anything that a user or viewer could kind of download or buy themselves kind of further?
Let's see. I got a book off Amazon, but I mean, I'm like I said, man, I like listening to podcasts, but as far as like baseball related stuff, like I listen to some of the Joe Rogan stuff, but baseball related, not a whole lot. I'm trying to stay in touch with that baseball side. Like I said, like watching, MLB Network here and there, just watching some games. Let's see, books that I like. Extreme Ownership is one of my favorite books.
Okay.
It's kind of, Navy SEAL based. But it's, at its most simplest form, it's you need to take ownership of your actions. And it taught me a lot of just, you don't blame others. You know what I mean? It's so much simpler if you just take the blame and move on. I feel like in life, if you can learn to just, take ownership and adjust with the situation. And they go into detail about, Navy SEALs, and they have certain stories about going into a certain zone and something happens, and it's how you react from it. And it's a lot harder of a life if you're always playing the blame game and you're never actually, taking ownership of certain situations. So I like that book. I should read more, but I don't. I'm not gonna, lie to you guys, but no, I don't really listen to a whole lot of podcasts. I listen to some Joe Rogan stuff just to be entertained, and so I'm not listening to all the same music I listen to the field and back from the field every day. But not a whole lot in that department for me.
Awesome. Well, I know, like I said, the Twitter side of things, there's plenty of good Twitters you can follow for gifts or videos or tips or whatever. So
yeah,
if you're looking for next level stuff, obviously not referring to you, Jake, but the viewers out there, definitely hop on Twitter, get on some podcasts, any sort of books if you're more of a paper guy. Definitely look into some of that stuff. As far as this, the last piece that I kind of want to talk about a little bit is, we are doing a fundraiser, COVID, Coaches versus COVID. So there's a link. I believe it's in the chat. If not, I'll send that out there right now. It's obviously, there's a link on our website. If you go to just Google search Coaches versus COVID, it'll pop up. It'll be the first one. You could even click on the Google I'm feeling lucky if you want to trust me on that. It'll pull that website right up. Feel free to donate to whoever's link you want. There's a bunch of different coaches on there, myself as well. So any sort of donation will go a long ways, $5, $10, whatever you want to do. We do have about 12 more of these lined up, bunch of different topics, bunch of different coaches, baseball, softball, a couple other players jumping on with us as these weeks go along. We appreciate everybody jumping on tonight. Big shout out to Jake Lamb jumping in, helping us out, getting better here in the community side with the baseball and softball piece, and helping us kind of continue to grow this game and stay active during these uncertain times. So I wanted to say thank you to you one last time. And other than that,
Thanks for having me. I had a good time. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, other than that, appreciate all of you guys. We will be back on tomorrow night at 6 p.m. With the National Pitching Association crew. Be a couple of them kind of breaking down some protocols on the pitching and throwing side. I believe they'll have some demonstrations, some screen share where you can kind of see some drills and stuff as well. So it should be another good session tomorrow night. Get registered as soon as you can. A couple hours before that, you'll receive an email link, kind of jump into this call. So feel free to share that with anybody and everybody, and we'll see everybody soon. Bye. See you, Jake.
All right. Thanks, guys. See ya.